Get ready for Tuesdays with Tiffany Lewis. Tune in at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time to Be the Change. Only on Clear Source Radio, where we inspire people soul to soul. Only on Clear Source Radio.
Hey everyone, good evening. Welcome to Be the Change. Thank you, Mel, for that wonderful introduction. Your show was great, by the way. Hope everyone's doing okay. So I'm going to jump right into it. I have author I Am Waiting, who wrote the book called In Thy Mother's Honor. And we're going to talk about that. And I know that it's going to touch your heart and soul the same way it did mine. So please enjoy. Hello, everyone. Good evening. This is Tiffany H. Lewis. Welcome to Be the Change on Clear Source Radio, iHeart Radio, and Spotify. Today, our special guest, his name is I Am Waiting, and he is an author of a book called In Thy Mother's Honor. I am super excited to have him live on the air with us this evening, and we're just going to dive right on into it, and please enjoy. Hi, everyone. I have author I Am Waiting on the line with us this evening. I hope everyone's doing okay. And how are you? I am waiting.
I am doing fine. Thank you for having me on your show.
Oh, thank you
for all the
being here.
Thanks for their time.
Yes.
You're welcome.
So the book is called In Thy Mother's Honor, right?
Yes, it is.
All right. What would you like to tell us about the book?
I wrote the book trying to get a message out to many veterans, but also on behalf of myself. I've got some open issues with the Veterans Association and the Marine Corps. I'm a Marine.
Okay.
And I was asked to write the book by my trauma specialist after many, many, many years of drawing things out about my combat in Vietnam. I did 3 active tours in Vietnam.
Right.
That he felt my experience, not only from combat, but as the book goes into my life, could help many other veterans or the families of veterans or even anyone, because he felt it just let such an open story out there. So after years of coaxing, I finally went and wrote the book.
Well, I'm glad you did. It's a very emotional book, but oh my gosh, it's everything. It's heartbreaking. It's honorable. It's the truth. Things that people need to hear. For those that are upset with the way the government has treated you after serving for your country, you need to read this book, because this is an eye opener. Not that we didn't know it; we've all just been denying it, I guess. But these facts and these raw materials, now I didn't know that. So without spoiling the book, do you want to tell us a little bit of an overview?
Yes, I thank you again, Tiffany. I titled the book In Thy Mother's Honor because to me, that led me to open up my own story. I opened the book with a brief about my life prior to going into the Marines. I then went 3 active tours in Vietnam. Prior to my going to Vietnam, my mother in July of 1966 got word that my father had passed away at work. They were coming to get her. She was 8 months pregnant at that time. With that word, she collapsed, fell on her belly, which killed the baby. So she lost the husband and the baby.
Okay.
So shortly after that, around 2 months later, I came home to tell her I was going to Vietnam. And she told me I couldn't go, that if she heard I was hurt, injured, killed, it would kill her. So I made her a promise at that time that she would never hear I was injured or hurt while in Vietnam.
Right.
So once I was there, I was injured multiple times. But each time a corpsman came to treat me or doctor, I refused treatment because I was told that if they touched me, someone would show up at my mother's door and let her know what happened to me. So I felt by them not touching me, she would never hear that word. So I taped myself, sewed myself, bandaged myself, took the morphine, whatever I needed to continue on in combat. And that happened multiple times. And I made it home 3 tours later, and my mother never got the word, so I felt I honored my promise to my mother. Thus the title of the book, In Thy Mother's Honor.
Absolutely. Now, absolutely.
What I didn't know about that time, Tiffany, is when I refused a treatment from the corpsman, I was refusing my Purple Heart. Now, I was never told that. Now that I am older, my mom has passed, and I have grandchildren. My grandchildren are telling me I should go back and get my Purple Hearts. I've been chasing 10 years now trying to get my Purple Hearts back because I was injured. I have all the paperwork in the back of my book. There's photos and copies of letters verifying my injuries, that there's shrapnel still in my body. And I've been fighting for 10 years trying to get them with the Marines. And also I found out I was promoted to sergeant, and I'm fighting to get that old promotion. So that's an ongoing battle I'm still dealing with, which I feel is needless. They know what happened. They know what happened. Their paperwork's there. What I put in the back of book, highlights of what I've sent them. And it's just a nonstop battle of rejection.
That's crazy. I don't understand. I really don't understand why they won't give you that Purple Heart. You deserve... Okay, first off, I've never, ever talked to anybody who actually served any, let alone 3 terms in the Vietnam War, ever. I mean, there aren't that many people living that are here to speak about that. That alone is worth the Purple Heart. And then all of your bravery, everything that you went through, all of your injuries, probably fighting with the VA still to this day to try to get medical care for things that happened back then. I don't understand why they won't give you the Purple Heart, but I hope that this message, this radio show, I hope that the right person hears it and they do the right thing.
I'm hoping, and that is part of my reason for writing the book. The trauma specialist who encouraged me to write it felt it would help maybe relax my mind a little bit and be able to talk about some things.
Yes.
But also, and to me, to resolve my issue, it's going to take somebody knowing somebody who knows somebody to get a copy of this book in front of the right people in our government, including the Commandant of the Marine Corps, and say, take care of this problem. Their last denial to me from my Purple Hearts was that when I told the corpsman that I would take care of myself, I was telling them I really wasn't injured. I still have shrapnel in my body. The x-rays still show the shrapnel in my body. Letters from the doctors at the VA telling them my injuries are combat injuries from Vietnam. I mean, I've got 28 parts in my back, rods, bolts, clips, things. My neck has got 8 parts and a new disc and everything. My shoulder's been totally rebuilt. I've had 5 heart surgeries, 3 cancer surgeries from Agent Orange cancer. I mean, the denials are just so ridiculous, I guess, is the simplest word I can use for this. With all that I've gone through with them, with all that I've given of my life, and I'm still going through and suffering from the cancers, why they want to battle, it just doesn't make sense.
That's crazy. Well, you're exactly the kind of person that I would like to help. I mean, especially now knowing that you got cancer from Agent Orange, which I'm going to let you tell us about in just a minute.
Okay.
I deal with a lot of people's final wish, their dying wish, or their one hope, the one thing that they want more than anything in their world or in the world. And I go out of my way to make those connections. So like I said a second ago, I promise that I'm going to make this play around the clock on all the pertinent radio shows, iHeart Radio, Spotify, YouTube, and somebody somewhere is going to listen. And it is going to take somebody to know somebody, but between the two of us, we both have a lot of connections, and I think that somebody out there will have a heart and do the right thing. I hope.
I thank you for that. I thank you for all any efforts that anybody can do here.
Absolutely. It's important to me too.
I've been battling this issue for over 10 years.
Okay.
Trying to get this promotion in my Purple Hearts. And there's others that are open, I'm supposedly due. Once you read the book, it's going to go into deep detail about a lot of combat. No way could I write it all down, but I tried to pick up some key issues of combat that I've gone through in Vietnam, plus part of my life, and all that I've gone through since. You mentioned the Agent Orange cancer. I've had 3 cancer surgeries so far, and Agent Orange never leaves your body, so it's there roaming until it finally attacks. A lot of the vets have already died when it's hit their heart. I've been very fortunate, blessed to live through that part. I've had the 5 heart surgeries, and it was supposed to have died. They only gave me 20% chance, and I, again, was very fortunate to live. But I've had radical prostatectomy, no prostate. I've had diapers and pads the rest of my life. I've had kidney surgery for cancer, and now it's waiting for it to go in my blood. And once it hits the blood, then they tell you which one of the blood diseases it is, and you get either a 6-month or 2-year life expectancy. So that's my wait. I'm waiting for when they're going to tell me it's in my blood and my number's up.
Okay, first off, there's no way I'm going to let you move on past this life without fighting with every core of my being to get you that Purple Heart. But secondly, what does it feel like to hear that? And what is Agent Orange for those that don't know and have not read the book?
Well, Agent Orange was a defoliant that was sprayed on the jungle. My combat experience was in the jungle the majority of my time. I was in the jungle probably 90% of my time, deep in the jungle, not back in support bases. Everybody has their place to be. That was my place to be. But it was to be dropped to defoliate the jungle so we could see the enemy better. We never knew this was going on. No veteran was ever told they were dropping anything to defoliate anything.
Of course.
And we were there. We were there, and I'm living in the jungle along with the vets at my side, and we're sleeping in a poncho liner on the ground, and they're dropping at night. So whether we're there trying to catch an hour or 2 of sleep, or set up for a patrol, doing a patrol, or set up for an ambush, and they're dropping this stuff, it's falling on us. But what many don't understand and didn't understand then is our water when you're out in the jungle comes from the streams or from puddles of rain. So we take our canteens up, scoop it up. Now, they had just dropped this chemical in this water. We didn't know that, and we drank the water.
Okay, so we dropped the chemical? Just to be clear, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but we, the government, the USA, we dropped the chemical?
The U.S. government dropped all the Agent Orange to the whole country. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
So we were dropped. They were dropping. And what they never did, they never checked where the veterans were at the time. They don't, back then, I'll give them one piece of credit. They didn't have the technology to know where all the troops were at all the time.
Absolutely.
But, they had to know we were in general areas, and we were dropped on big time. Wow. And again, not only was it in our water, now we'd get up and start moving, and it's on all the leaves of the jungle, the branches. So now we're brushing it against our body again. So there was no way to escape it. We were, let's say, attacked by it without knowing. But again, it was something we couldn't see. It wasn't like it was a bright pink powder or something. We didn't even know anything was there, let alone that it happened to us. It was years later when the cancer started coming out that we finally found out what they had done and how we were going to be affected.
Why wasn't there a mass lawsuit that went down, a class action suit?
There was a mass lawsuit filed in the early 90s by the veterans, not by the government. It was filed against multiple chemical companies.
Okay.
And in 1993, the veterans won of that class action lawsuit a multi-billion-dollar pain and suffering settlement.
Okay.
The next day, our government stepped in. They had no part of this lawsuit and took every bit of dollar that was awarded from the veterans and said they were going to put it into the till and make sure that any veteran exposed to Agent Orange would get care for Agent Orange.
Oh my God.
What they didn't tell anybody was that being in the military, if anything happens to you, you're covered for life anyway, for any kind of injury. So 6 months later, and I detail all this in my book, and you can also just Google Agent Orange and the settlement and all about it. You'll find out 6 months later the government could not tell us where that money was anymore. It just was put into a till and disappeared.
Oh, yeah.
Hundreds of millions of dollars. And that is one of my causes are my Purple Heart. My causes are trying to get my promotion. But I'm also saying we're spending billions and billions of dollars fighting wars all over this world.
Right.
And I'm the one, like so many vets, going through cancer surgeries and the cancer effects. Give us our pain and suffering money back. Give us each of the vets that are over and give us our money back. It should have never been taken. This was our pain and suffering that we're going through now. Anybody who's gone through any kind of cancer knows what the after effects, what the cancer is, and all the therapy. It is heart-wrenching. How you look, the loss of weight, the throwing up, everything you go through, there's nothing good about it.
Yeah. That kind of makes me sick to my stomach to hear that the government stepped in and took it the next day. And I'm sure I'm going to catch all kinds of grief for even talking about this, but I'm not one to care, honestly. I want to get the message out there. I want to fight this thing. I want to help in any way I can.
But again, Tiffany,
gotta be something
look it up.
do.
The settlement is real. All the facts of it are real. It's on there. I mean, not on you when you Google it. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's true with anything on the internet.
Well, but I mean, you could Google about the settlement, Google about the lawsuit, Google how the Agent Orange was to be used and its effects on all the veterans.
So they are acting like they warned you that they were going to be using Agent Orange and that you knew its effects, right?
No, they admit that they admit that they never warned us, and admit that they didn't know the effects on us. They admit that they just were unaware at that time, but they learned shortly thereafter, but never told us shortly thereafter.
Of course.
Meaning like maybe 6-8 months later they found out of the effects, but they didn't come around and research any vet who was out there. It was when we started catching the cancers that it all came to light.
Well, I'm sure there's some lawyer listening somewhere that would love to get their hands on this case and go for that class action suit one more time. It's pretty hard to sue the government, but it's not impossible.
I would hope with the technology of getting the word out to people today compared to back then,
yes,
it could be so much of a stronger message than it ever was.
Yes.
Because even that lawsuit was kept quiet back then. It didn't get out anywhere.
Crazy. I don't like shadiness, and that's really shady. So when I read your book, I'm just being completely honest, it read differently than you speak. So I guess I expected you to speak the way it read, or maybe it's the way I think, or how I speak to my own, my own voice in my own head, how I read it. It reads like perfectly written, sentence for sentence. The grammar is great, but it's brutal, it's blunt, it's honest, and you can tell that 37 other people didn't come in and say, take this word out, don't say that, don't say this, don't say it. Like, you were so good with your choice of words. So am I to assume that you self-published?
I didn't. The publisher I chose does not change the writing at all. All they do is correct grammar.
Okay.
All they do is correct grammar. And when I'm on talking in interviews, a lot of what I wrote is I would be basically to say it's impossible for me to discuss because I would break down crying. And
I know.
A couple people through my things have asked me some of the questions, and I couldn't complete the answer. So I try to stay away from discussing those issues.
Okay. Well, I promise I won't ask any questions. I just wanted to tell you that the way you wrote it, I know that was really hard to do, but I'm glad you did it. That is the most eye-opening book I've ever read in my life. I feel honored to have been, for you sending me the book and getting this time to interview you and meet the person behind that, because that book, no matter what happens, that's kind of your legacy, and you were able to get it out there into a book.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I thank you.
Yeah.
Again, the original goal was so my family knew, because my wife, the children, grandchildren knew I was in Vietnam. They my whole life never asked me about it. They seen the scars on my body, but they never asked me. So they found out prior to me putting this book in public about all this. Is when they found out I gave them a copy. So they've now learned what Grandpa and Dad has gone through.
Okay.
But it was very hard to do, believe me. Extremely hard.
PTSD alone, and plus what I've read. I mean, I can't imagine writing that and not I don't know. I would have been discouraged a lot sooner. I might have made it through 3 pages if I were going to write like my personal story about something like that, and I would have quit because it was too painful.
The combat section, I tried to make it. I tried and hoped I was writing to make everyone feel as they were reading it that they were there.
You did. Believe me, you did. It read like a Hollywood movie, the way they did Titanic, or, and this is a horrible example, but Pearl Harbor. The way those movies played out is exactly how this book reads, and it really needs to be turned into a movie. It's amazing how it reads.
I'm just hoping that, again, I'm hoping, and as I've heard, it touches their heart and soul, and if I can do that, hopefully they can help someone else, or find someone to help me with my issues, but they can help some other vet down the way who's sitting there in a stare and a glare. Go over and talk to him. Don't let him sit there because he's being bothered.
Right.
The old vets are staring, they're reliving something. Get their mind off of that.
Exactly, and people don't know that. I mean, it's one of those it takes one to know one kind of things, but even still we don't always recognize the fact that because a person's staring off that they're actually in a moment in their head and reliving it. We don't know that, so that is a very good message. And I also hope the same thing, that people will stop and maybe recognize the fact that this person sitting there that looks like they're blanked out is actually living in a war inside their head. You know, just reliving it over and over and over again.
That war will go away the day we will die, and never any sooner.
I know. I can say I know. I understand. I really do.
It was, is, and will always be a tremendous part of our life.
It's a major part of who we are, isn't it? PTSD and war is a funny thing, like, not ha-ha funny, but like, people don't understand what we struggle with every single day just to wake up and stay alive every day. You know?
Yes.
It's a fight every day.
I thank you for understanding, Tiffany.
Unfortunately,
and I hope this
do
message gets out
firsthand. What's that?
Well, then my respect to you for that. My deep respect.
Okay, so you kept your word to your mother, and in return, they repay you by not giving you what you deserve at the very least. They take the settlement away. They keep it for themselves. Who do I speak to about that? Tell me how far up this ladder I need to climb. Are we talking about the president here?
I hate to say this. I have gone up every channel I can. I have gone up as high as I can in the appeal in the VA. Okay. The VA finally rehearing again about the non-payment of my heart surgery bill. That is in my book. I am facing a $1,789,000 heart surgery bill that the VA has not paid since February 1st of 2016. That is still hanging over my head.
That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah, injury-related from Vietnam. But I believe it's going to take someone walking into the Commandant of the Marine Corps' office based on a phone call I just had out to Washington, D.C. to Veterans Affairs. I was on the phone with a gentleman on the phone who is a disabled American veteran working there. Okay. And he is fairly up. I don't want to give his name and title, but he basically told me that looking at my issues and all that it's going to take the Commandant of the Marine Corps and or the President, somebody to walk in with this book in hand and get them to sit and read this book and understand the story. Because I've submitted paperwork 10 times over, 2-3 inches thick. So it's there, pile after pile, letter after letter, document after document. And again, in the back of my book, you're going to see copies of all the stuff saying about the shrapnel book, copies of other Marines saying they know I was injured, copies of the doctors from the VA hospital saying these are all combat Vietnam injuries. I mean, I don't know what more to tell them. They're going to see copies of the promotion where I was promoted to sergeant, where it clearly says effective December 1967, promotion to sergeant. And everything they've got an excuse for, there's excuse on that one. That isn't what it really says. I mean, the letter reads what it reads. It doesn't say, I'm up for review. It doesn't say we're thinking about it. It says effective December 1967. Mm-hmm. So anyway, you get every battle, Tiffany. What I don't, you hear the government talk about for all the veterans trying to cure their PTSD, try to help them ease their mind on PTSD. Mm-hmm. When they fight a veteran getting his care in the hospital, fight on getting a bill paid, in this case, fighting me on these open, ridiculous issues, all it does is you relive everything over and over again, traumatize you even more.
I hate to admit that I know. I really, 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 really know. And I know that our listeners may not know. I pray to God that they don't know, but I know. Maybe that's part of their mission. You know what I mean? Get us to relive it till we kill ourselves. I don't know.
And that's, so many vets have taken that choice. They're so tired of fighting. They've taken their lives. They've gone to the drugs. And it's like, why? What is this for?
It is, though.
When you asked us to go in the military, when you asked us to go into combat, I didn't get any day or any time to say, I don't want to go on that ambush tonight.
Right.
Because I don't want to get involved with killing somebody or being killed. Let me fly me somewhere else, and maybe I can get a burger and fries. I've done what I needed to do that night, that day, that evening. Every time with no questions asked. Why am I battling now?
Well, once you're put into that war zone, you stay there, and what people do not understand is even, 50 years after that war zone environment has, literally ended maybe, it doesn't end in your daily life. Your whole entire daily life, every minute of your daily life revolves around that exact thing. And it ruins relationships, it ruins people. And it makes me wonder how much the government knows that. And I know the statistics, and you probably do too, just from your own personal friends that you've lost that have taken their own life by the hand of suicide from battling PTSD or war zone trauma. And, there isn't really that much help out there available. You can't get over it, is what I'm trying to say.
No, Tiffany, I've had 2 take 45 to their head in the last 10 years. To end their lives. They got tired of it.
I know.
And I've got another one in the hospital right now. His Agent Orange cancer. I can't even talk to him anymore. He's the last one left that I'm aware of, but there's more. I don't know. And I can't even hold a conversation with him anymore. He's no longer understandable. He's on his final days, and that's a shame. But
so that's
we fight these battles, and there's no reason to fight these battles.
Right.
Again, I don't mean to bring up the book, but I think there's so many issues in that book that could possibly help so many other people who are friends of vets or relatives of vets.
Yes.
That they can open their eyes of what they've maybe dealt with or dealing with, and it could be a neighbor. But this book isn't just for vets; it's for everybody. The story is for everybody.
It is. And it's something that everybody should read, because just because you have a family member that's a veteran, and I know that they're not going to talk about it. You know it. I know it too. But so this gives you a level of understanding that you would have never understood before unless you've literally lived through it.
My whole life, I talked about nothing of this, even when I was getting care to veterans. I didn't even talk about another. The only person who's ever heard anything prior to this book was my psych or the trauma specialist I still am seeing, had to see and still am seeing. And that's it. You just don't want to talk about it. You're just not part of your life.
I agree. You don't want to talk about it, but it's unfortunate we live it. We still wake up every day and make a decision. People do not understand that. It is a decision. You wake up and you say, do I go back to sleep? Do I grab that gun? I mean, I'm not glorifying anything here. I'm not pro-suicide. In fact, I have a nonprofit that is completely anti-suicide and anti-bullying, and I stick up for people and grant people their final wishes, which I'm sure you did not know that about me, and that's totally off subject, but that is my mission in life. And part of that mission is I'm not going to let you move past this life without putting up a heck of a fight, seriously, for your Purple Heart, because no trauma counseling, nothing, not EDRM, not even like a lobotomy could fix what we feel inside.
Never can. And thank you for all you're doing for everyone around you.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for, again, sharing that with people, because that's about the only way we're going to hear it in a real sense. And understand from a first-hand perspective what that's like, because there aren't that many living people from that war. And I feel like that's the government's plan. Kill them off or let them kill themselves. The end. Problem solved, right?
And I've said it more than once. I really believe the bulk of our government officials can't wait until every Vietnam vet has died.
I know.
Because that is a burden off their back.
I agree. Well, again, I hope the right person's listening. This is going to take a lot of media attention, and they're going to shut us down every time. But I'm willing to put that fight up for you, because I care so much about this. I didn't go to Vietnam, but I know what you live with every day. I know what that feels like every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Nothing can change it. Nothing can ease it. That's not even a word that's in our vocabulary, like trying to ease something. You just fight. You're constantly fighting every day of your life. You can't get out of that.
It is. No, Tiffany. You understand deeply, and I can tell you've been involved.
Yep.
So you can hear it in your tone.
Thanks.
And I thank you for all of that.
Yeah. Well, all I can do is kind of what you did. You try to use it to help someone else. Your book is going to help a lot of people. Just because I don't talk about my story doesn't mean I'm not being sincere, but talking about it doesn't help. So what can we do other than try to help other people?
I'm told it's been 30 plus years since the vet has wrote down his story from Vietnam. So
I wouldn't do it either.
It's been too long. It's been too long. And I'm hoping this encourages others to open up, and hopefully it'll help them in any manner possible. Every little bit can help in such a little way.
Yes. And this is a book that's going to stick with you for the rest of your life, whether you've been through trauma or not. It sticks with you. You feel it. It is absolutely heart-wrenching. It is absolutely true, honest, and the way you recounted the events is it's like you were right there, day to day, and that is amazing, considering most of us block things out. We may know what they are, like literally in our head, but if you bring it up, we're going to deny it or try to push it down somewhere, not actually say it,
Those 50 or 40 pages of combat, when I wrote about the combat, took close to 8 weeks to write, because I had to keep stopping. I'd write a paragraph and a half, and I had to stay away for a few days. Then I'd go back and reread it and change. I tried to keep it as clear, but it kept breaking me down. And then for 2 or 3 nights, I couldn't sleep at all. So it took a long time to get that little section done, a long time.
It would have taken me 8 years. In all honesty, I don't know. When you deal with it every day, I guess writing helps, but not writing about it. That doesn't help. Writing about other things may help, but not your feelings.
I've been able to talk about some things a little bit,
but
there's still so much more I cannot even get into discussion with, because I just break down or I'll walk away. I don't want to talk about it.
I know. I will. So do you sleep at night? What's that been like?
Oh, my whole life has been, I would say, a minimum of 3 nights a week. At the best, I get 2 hours sleep.
Great.
Even with the pills they want me to take and sleeping pills. It's just the memories, the haunts, whatever you want to call them, flashbacks, they come right through. They're coming through in different reasons, different days. Maybe I heard a helicopter fly by that day, or heard a loud noise. Watch something on TV that maybe just clicked, and bingo, I'm up. and it's just, you're up and you just lay there and stare. I get up and walk around. I wake up and sweat. I'm so sweated. Or in a dry spot on my body, or in the bed. I have to get up, and I can't stay in the bed until we get up in the morning to wash the sheet again. That happens minimum once a month in that case. It just tears at you. It's a constant tear. And if you've gone through something, you know what I'm talking about, Tiffany. It's a battle.
Believe me, I can go, I think my record in the last 3 months is 14 days without sleep. And I'm not trying.
Yeah.
Medicines don't help.
Like I try to say with even the pain med, it takes the edge off a little. And sometimes just a little edge is the little bit to get you to that next day. And then that's what you'll go for. Take just that little bit to move on.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to give up, and I'm not going to give up.
Well, and that little bit of the edge off, I'm not going to deny that I have my vices too. It's nothing bad. I mean, I took pain meds for a long time too for a back injury, and it did take the edge off a little bit. Now I take anxiety meds, if I'm being completely honest, and it does take the edge off a little bit. But from what I hear, everyone who meets me tells me how serious I am, how edgy I am, how, why can I walk in a room and know where every door, every entrance, every exit, why can't I have my back to people behind me? You know what I mean? You know exactly what I mean. Every step to the door, you counted it out, right?
Yep. You sit at the back of the room so you can see the door entry. Everywhere you go.
Right.
I don't care if you're in a theater, in a classroom, in a school, anywhere you go, an auditorium, you're all the way into that corner.
And you're able to zone and pan the whole room, left to right, front to back, and count those steps out within 3 seconds of walking in any environment, new or not. Right?
It is. And it's never going to go away.
It's crazy. It really
never
is.
Never going to go away. I hate to tell you that, Tiffany, but it's not going to go
I know. They've tried to help me too, but it's...
Not to ruin your future, but it's going to be, you're going to battle this, and you're going to, you fight to every one you get, and then, and again, I have deep respect for you for that. I can't say enough about that your suffering doesn't need to be, but we fight on and don't ever stop fighting.
Oh, I'll never. I mean, again, I used it just like you did. You wrote a book. I opened a nonprofit, and it's obviously not profitable. It's not helpful to me in any way, but it's helpful to help other people. And that is the thing that keeps me sane.
That is the big thing. And now you got to keep on, because you said you're going to help get this word out, so I'm counting on you on that now. You got to be there every day. And I'm honored that you're going to do that, believe me.
And I am one determined somebody when I put my mind to something, just to kind of help put your mind at ease a little bit. When I say I'm going to do something, you better believe I'm going to give it 150%. I do not take no for an answer. I do know that we're going to get shut down on every road I traveled down to try to get this out there. If I were to go to, let's say, Ellen DeGeneres or any talk show host, we're going to get shut down. I'm aware. They're going to turn me away and be like, And even if I went to Washington, I realize I would probably be not so gently escorted off of the property. So there's a way to go about this where I think that it can be done. I think we need to find the right person with a heart and a soul, and that's gonna be, a hard thing to do. But if we could just get through to the right person, and maybe we both already know somebody that has the authority and just don't even realize it,
Yeah, anywhere I could go in my mind, I've been, and other suggestions, and I've gone beyond what anybody tried. And again, when they're now telling me out in Washington, D.C., this is probably what it's going to take, because they want to keep it under wraps.
Absolutely.
You read my book. And you know about 12 days and 11 nights.
Yes.
And their story to me is, that's a disgrace. If that gets out, that was a disgrace to the Marine Corps. And I'm a Marine for life.
I know.
But I don't care. I've done my job.
You have, and you've done the right thing. And maybe that's just the first book. Maybe it's going to take a couple more vets, if there are any listening that are still living, to tell their story. I don't know what it's going to take, but I know that I will keep my word to you no matter what for the rest of my life, that I will somehow get this out there, and some way or another, you're going to get that Purple Heart. somehow. I'm going to fight for it.
Thank you.
That's what I want to do. Like, that's my new mission.
I am honored, extremely honored.
I wish they'd do more than that, though. Like, the Purple Heart's great and stuff, but the lawsuit, too, and I'm not saying money's going to help a situation, but my gosh. You know? I mean, maybe it would help ease it a little bit.
the Agent Orange settlement, again, the money isn't going to stop my death, okay, but the money would show appreciation for, I guess, my suffering, and that we were dumped on blindly.
Yes.
All this happened to us without any, Mm-hmm. We were put into a new depth for the rest of our life without our consent.
Correct. Yeah.
And a painful, struggling, slow death. It isn't one that's going to go quick. You're constantly eating at you. And again, anybody out there with the Agent Orange cancer knows what I'm talking about.
Yes. That's... I'm not even surprised to hear this.
Your final death, if any of the vets have been unfortunate to see a vet who's dying of the final blood cancer in the hospital, he'll be bones with skin sucked to him and sores over 90% of his body, drooling out of every part of his body. It's just a horrific sight. That's the future.
That's crazy. Dang, I don't even have a word. I'm kind of speechless right now. That's crazy. And I can't
if you don't
fight
mind,
the Agent Orange, but do we still use it?
Pardon? It never can leave your body. Blood transfer, nothing helps it coming out.
Nothing can help it. Nothing can
help it. They've already admitted that. It's there for life. It is something that they cannot get out of the body with transfusions, nothing. It is just there, and it attacks when it wants to attack, and attacks where it wants to attack of your body. And it just eventually keeps eating part by part until, like they say, it takes a lot out when it hits the heart. Yes. I lived through that one. But when it gets in the blood, it's now, they give you your day count depending on which of the three types that it is.
Well, then it's going to travel to your brain. It's like a parasite.
Well, you won't know after a while, based on the vets I've seen in the hospital with it. It's going to basically what people would not call Alzheimer's dementia. You're not going to know. You're going to be laying there lifeless. And that is when they should allow you to go instead of keep rotting away, because that's what you do. You are rotting away.
Okay. So how about this? The nurse in me wants to give a little bit of advice on this. What if you could write a letter, a statement, a DNR, obviously, do not resuscitate, when you were ready? Like, what if you could make it clear that they are to not put you on ventilators and machines? But then again, you don't know what's going on, so you won't have any say-so, so you'd have to write that now.
I've got a DNR. It's already filed with the VA. And once I or my wife knows, and my wife and I have talked, and my children, once I can talk to them function fully, they're to unplug me. That is already set up with the wife and the kids. I do not want to lay there for another 2
Yeah,
I do not want to lay there for another 2 weeks or 2 months or 3 months, just sitting there rotting away, lifeless.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous. It is a shame that's going on with the veterans or anybody, but it is our life. We can't get around it anymore, so we just live through it.
I know. So how many veteran friends do you have from Vietnam still living?
That I am aware of, there's only one left. He's in the hospital. He's in Tennessee, and I cannot even talk to him anymore. He no longer
He's
can
not
talk.
Functioning.
Where he can't. He doesn't understand, or he can talk, but I don't think he understands 95% of what I say. And when he tries to answer, I basically understand nothing of what he says.
Yeah.
So I haven't talked to him in 3 weeks now, because the last time I talked to him, and I talked to his daughter, it just didn't make any sense anymore. It was more me trying to talk, and I'm getting no answer. And when I did get an answer, I had no idea what was said, and I have no idea if he understood me.
Right. And that's, I hate to use this cliche. It's a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing that your mind is able to finally wander away from that war zone, but it's a curse that they're forcing you to stay alive when you clearly don't. You can't even. You don't even have a choice. You know what I mean?
I'm well aware of that, Tiffany. Well aware.
Horrible. And
it's a shameful thing. I mean, I've told the kids, there's X amount of states that allow you to take your own life when you know that's coming.
Yes.
Let you go, have it done, and I wish every state would put that in, because you got to have 6 months residency to get that done. So.
Really. Okay, I don't know something about that. Can we go there for a minute? Can we talk about those states for a minute? Because I'm going to move to one of those states.
I'm told there's 7 or 9 states. I'm told there's 7 or 9 states, and I know Arizona is not one of them.
Okay. See, I didn't even know that, after that whole incident happened with that doctor, who I still stand up for to this day, who gave people an option. I'm sure you know exactly who I'm talking about. I'm not going to name any names. But,
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I agree with what he did. And while he went to prison for not actually doing anything other than supplying a medication to people that were already dying and in their final days, who just didn't want to wait any longer, I agree with what he did. And I've never heard anybody tell me before that there are a few states that actually give you that option now after throwing him in jail for 20, 30 years?
Yeah, Texas is one of them.
Texas will let you?
Texas will let you, but you got to have 6 months and 1 day residency. You can't just you found out you got 4 months left to live and you're going to rot away to oblivion in that 4 months and be drooling all over yourself. So it wouldn't work. So that's the issue. You had to have been there for at least 6 months in a day, and all the states that allow it are that way, I'm told. But I know Texas is one, and it was either Washington or Oregon was another one. And
yeah, I can't believe that. Yeah.
You have to look it up. I just know. I grew up born and raised in Chicago. And at 65, I moved out to Arizona because of the cost of living. On what I had left, that's what was best for me. So.
Okay. So
we got off topic here.
That's okay. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I just needed to. I needed to hear that. I sort of double took. Did I really just hear that there are states that allow that to happen? That's amazing. But
yeah, Arizona tried to pass it last year and it missed by 2 votes. I took.
Oh my goodness. All right, so you've prepared your family for whatever's to come. They've all read your book. Now, how do you find a wife that can deal with this? Because I'm sure she was freaked out. If not still, I'm sure she's learned how to deal with it to this day. But how long have you been married? And how do you find somebody to understand and deal with what we're dealing with?
Well, I've been married over 48 years.
Okay.
And in my book, you're going to read, when I met my wife, I found an angel.
Yes.
And on the first day I met her, I told her dad I was going to marry his daughter. She struck me that much the first time I met her and talked to her. I was done. I was over. I knew that was it.
Amazing.
And we've been together 48 years. We've never been separated.
Yeah.
She's a strong woman. She's by my side. She's gone through a lot with all this. Again, since May 4th of 2012, I've had 9 surgeries on my body, all related to Vietnam, either for the Agent Orange cancers or from my injuries there, rebuilding my back from when I was blown up in a rocket hit, rebuilding my neck from when a mortar hit, rebuilding my shoulder from those. I got a whole new shoulder. It's all metal, and my whole shoulder's metal inside down my arm. All, again, I've had bowel surgeries. I've had, and the Agent Orange cancer surgeries. On and on. It's just, so she's gone through a lot, and I am finally feeling the best I've felt since May 4th of 2012. And we just hope and take them day by day that it can stay that way longer.
Yeah, well, I can hear the positivity in your voice, and it's amazing that you have that level of support, for generations of support, actually. You've got a wife, you guys have kids, you have grandkids, you may have great-grandkids, I don't know, but I'm just so honored to get to speak to somebody on such an unedited level about the truth of Vietnam, because this is like the one war that nobody will talk about. And I didn't even know. I didn't even know till I read your book. I'm not surprised. I mean, I'm not even going to pretend that I'm surprised that they basically took an entire military, drafted you, and sent you all on a suicide mission, basically.
Yes.
But
it was.
Wow.
It was done. It's been trying to be hidden, and hopefully some of it comes out, and the good parts come out of it.
Okay. So we have to get it out of hiding, and we fight for. If you're really the only last living vet from that war that you know of, I'm sure there are a few other people in the world that feel the same way.
I'm not the last Vietnam veteran.
Well, that's what I mean. There may be a few others.
Vietnam veteran alive. The last one that I am aware of that I served with. There's still hundreds of thousands of Vietnam vets out there. Yeah. There's still hundreds of thousands of Vietnam vets.
There's got to be a way to connect you guys. With technology being what it is.
Yeah, I see the Vietnam vets down at the hospital, but they're nobody I know. Nobody I served with, let's put it that way.
So
there's still many. Pardon?
I'm sorry. The person that you served with, is this person in your book? Without giving away names?
The last person that I know that I served with that is alive, and there may be more because I served with many, but you learn not to get tight with them because, again, one of my injuries I talk about, I'll just bring up Rob and Gabe. I became close with them. From then on, I never became close with anybody ever again. I didn't allow that to happen. It took too much out of me. So the people change weekly because of the injuries and the deaths. So you don't get to really a chance to get tight with that many because the flow was constant in Vietnam. There were so many killed and so many injured. I mean, 55,000 plus killed and hundreds of thousands injured where they had to be. I injured and stayed, and there's many other veterans who were injured and stayed for their own reasons to continue on. I had my reasons, and they had their reasons. Mm-hmm. But there's a ton of Vietnam vets out there alive and suffering, and some not suffering, but they're all did their time, and they all got a life to still yet live.
And a life sentence, if I may be that blunt.
That's not going to stop. Their days are numbered like, I guess we all have a number, but ours are numbered for a different reason.
Well, and not
for
just
a reason we were unaware of. Yeah, for being unaware of.
And it makes you question a lot of stuff, doesn't it?
You have to question stuff we had no control of. When I went to Vietnam, I was 20 years old.
Wow.
I was trained to go do what I was taught to do, and I was there through my 21st and 22nd birthday. I did three continuous tours, never came home between them, and it was just all I knew at that time. And that's what I thought I was supposed to do. Yeah. And the reasons they gave me why I was doing it was what I understood to be correct. You didn't know any better.
Right. It's not like they gave you that many options either.
No. And that's I was in the very northern part of Vietnam, so I was never down in the middle of the South. I was always up right along the border, places called Quay Son, Con Thien, Cam Lo, and then many LZs. I bring all that stuff in the book. Again, I try to mention some of them. Too many to mention, but I highlight a few of the more well-known to the Vietnam vets. Okay. Any of them that served up north, those names are going to ring a bell as drastic combat areas for the Marines. Drastic combat areas.
Yeah, there was a lot of acronyms and words that I had to actually look up upon reading this book because it's so detailed. And obviously I wasn't there, so I didn't know what it meant, but I had to look it up. And once I figured out what those meant, I was just like blown away, like, wow, that's crazy. And I feel for you, but at the same time, I'm so proud of you for writing this book. I know that anybody who reads it, it's going to touch them the same way it touched me, it touched your family, and it's going to help us to not trigger you or any other Vietnam vet. I mean, not that we're supposed to know, like, who's a Vietnam vet, but, you know, it's just, it'll help us handle situations better. You know, like you said, the guy that's just sitting there zoned out who may be homeless or whatever, we need to have more sympathy for that person and help them. You know, we need to fight for them, and there needs to be a settlement out of this. And while that's kind of stupid to say that money needs to be paid, it does. I mean, they know your days are numbered.
And yes, they do. And in their mind, like I mentioned before, it can't come soon enough for them.
Yeah.
Can't come soon enough.
An ugly situation. Ugly situation. I've never been for military or people joining military because I was raised that way in a military household. And I mean, if any of my children try to join the military, I talk them out of it somehow every time. Seriously, I won't let them join. But, you know, then again, when you have sons and let's say another draft happens, what are you going to do about it? You know?
Yeah. And that was my wife with my son. She didn't want him going in at all. Mm-hmm. So, but sometimes we don't have choices. But yes. Again, we honor and respect all the veterans serving for our country today and all the future vets. I mean, there's, to me, not enough we should be able to do for them for their care once they get up.
I agree. And that was one of the most eye-opening pieces. I mean, I feel like I'm involved in a lot of helping, but I'm not as involved as I should be or could be with vets. And I can tell you that this book and speaking with you has changed my path. So I'm going to go out of my way to start working with more veterans.
Well, thank you, and they will appreciate it, I'm sure. Thank you for giving up your time. Your time is valuable to you and your family, too.
Oh, yeah, and thank you for speaking with us this evening. Is there any final words you'd like to tell everybody listening?
Well, I'd just like to give them where they could buy the book, hopefully. And again, If they know anybody, please read the book. And once they get all the facts, if they think they know somebody or know somebody who might know somebody, if they could reach out to them, I greatly appreciate that, and so would so many other vets. But the book is In Thy Mother's Honor. It can be bought at the publishing company Dorrance at 800-788-7654 or at Amazon, Barnes & Noble. And it can also be for those people who know how to download it into readers. That's beyond me.
Oh, like e-readers. Okay.
Yeah,
Kindle.
I don't know. I'm not with computers. I'm not into that, so I just know it can be done.
Okay. So you can download the book online for those of you who know what a Kindle or an e-reader is, and you can purchase I Am Waiting in Thy Mother's Honor. Any other ways that we can tell them to get the book?
I'm sure that I know it's supposedly available. It's not in the shelf anywhere because I'm a nobody. You know, I'm not a person who's published 50 books. I'm not a movie star. I'm not a politician who, when they want to bring up a book, it's on TV so everybody they're in all the bookstores. So mine has to be ordered because, you know, in the minds of all these people, I'm a nobody. So you have to go and order it. It's not on the shelf anywhere.
It's okay. It will be. I have a good feeling about this. How long ago did you write the book? When did you actually put it out there for the world?
The book was finally reviewed. Again, the publishing company I used only reviews it for grammar. That was the last week of December. It was out to the public in the last week of February, so February of this year.
Okay, very good. So it's kind of new, and we're going to shed some serious light on it. Like I said, I'm going to put it all over social media. I thank you for your time today. Is there anything else that you'd like to tell everyone listening?
That's Tiffany, I want to just thank you, and thanks to all the listeners for taking their time out of their day.
Thank you. All right, guys, you've all heard it. I will be publishing pictures and how to contact this author, and encouraging you guys to buy the book. I really will. So thank you again. I am waiting for doing this interview with me, and I hope that you have a great day, and you again have my word that I will fight for that Purple Heart, fight for that settlement for you, I assure you. And I'll never look at a veteran the same again. They have my heart and soul now.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You have a good day, okay?
You too. Bye-bye. Thank you to everybody.
Are you ready to be inspired? Are you ready to make positive changes in your life? Tune in to Be the Change, live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, featuring our heartwarming radio host, Tiffany Lewis. She's an empath, an indigo, and has a new and uplifting message for you. Every week, Tiffany can be heard only on Clear Source Radio, where people inspire people, from our soul to yours. You can get the free app today at clearsourceradio.com. Visit Tiffany H. Lewis on Facebook for even more daily inspiration.